Today, we are going to talk about domestic pressure boosting. And my guest today is Rebecca Henderson. Rebecca is the National Sales Development Manager for Grundfos. Rebecca, thanks for coming on. Becky, I guess. Thanks for coming
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you having me. Call me Becky. It's fine. Domestic pressure boosting is a really hot topic for some plumbers these days, and I'm glad that you brought us on to talk about it because
Good.
most
Well, I guess
homeowners notice pressure problems real quick.
let's start with the consumer, I guess, because we do want to talk about, what helps to install these properly from a consumer, from a contractor standpoint. Obviously, that's our main audience here, but a happy homeowner is just as much a part of the game plan for a contractor. And I just wonder sometimes when I think about the pressure, I don't have a pressure boosting system in my house myself. I don't know too much about it, but does it seem to maybe, do people think it's going to be the be all and end all? Of their problems, and everyone wants a nice pressure, more water in their shower. But is it just as simple as that? I mean, there might be some other things that they need to look at
Well,
too.
pressure boosting isn't just about adding pressure, okay? It's about understanding that your home is a system,
Mhm.
the whole plumbing, right? So you've got incoming pressure, you've got the piping layout, fixtures, components, the expectations of homeowners, and the long term reliability of the product. You have to pick the right pump for the application, and you have to understand how it's going to react with the other components within the system.
Mhm.
When it's done right, we're not just adding pressure, we're giving a overall improved homeowner experience. And that's what they're looking for.
Okay, fair enough. So now, if it is determined that a home needs a pressure boosting system, what would be some of the pre-installation diagnostics that you would recommend to the contractor that they do to make sure that this is installed and commissioned properly?
When I talk about pumps, I mean the water source is really going to be the best place to start. Okay, you have to understand the application that you're going to put it in before I even start talking about pumps. I talk to contractors about whether or not they're going to boost from a city main. Are they doing a suction lift application? Is it coming from a cistern or from a tank, or are you pulling it from a shallow well? Because the pump is going to have to be able to do different things based on the supply. You really want to start with the fundamentals. Where is your water source coming from? What is the incoming inlet supply? Check for things like pressure spikes and high pressure situations that can occur overnight. Look for components within the system that you know are going to set you up for success. One of the things that we were talking about offline was the thermal expansion tank. Thermal expansion is a big issue in domestic pressure boosting. You have to address it, and you have to address it correctly, or that pump or the system itself is going to fail. And those failures can be significant.
And I think I heard you say too on a video that I watched you before this conversation that a booster pump increases pressure, not water volume. So I think that might be a misconception, I think, for
It
everybody,
is.
maybe homeowner and contractor.
Right, right, right. So there's only so much you're going to push through a small opening.
Mhm.
Okay, your entire plumbing system is limited by friction and resistance. So if you don't have an adequately sized water main,
Mhm.
if you don't have an adequately sized main line coming from your meter to your home, you're going to have issues that you cannot correct with simply elevating pressure. Now, those situations can be addressed. We can
Mhm.
fix it, but
Mhm.
it usually requires adding an additional storage tank that the pump can draw from. So
Mhm.
the answer isn't no, but it isn't just as simple as dropping a pump in because no pump is going to create more volume.
Okay. Okay. So moving along, once it's installed, I mean, what kind of how-tos would a contractor need to know? I mean, to make it sure it's running properly.
The simplest thing is obviously to follow the instructions, okay? But one of the things that we've tried to do is to educate. I mean, we get into the communities all the time and we want to talk to the contractors. We want to make sure that we are a resource of information from them because the mistakes that we see aren't deliberate. They're not ill thought out. They're just haven't thought it completely through. And
Mhm.
so we're here to help with that. We have technical training manuals, we have checklists that we're providing. We want people to lean in. We have a website dedicated to contractor resources, and they can come to us. Most of them, a lot of contractors have my phone number, and I'm happy to hand it out if it's a matter of making sure they do it right. Because at the end of the day, if your customer's not happy, then you're going to come back to us and you're not going to
Right.
be happy.
Right. And another thing too, we just kind of talked about it briefly, but the expansion tank. Tell me a little bit more about that. Because again, before I came into this interview, I thought, okay, well, here's this pressure boosting system, and voila, that's all you need to do. But there's a lot more that you need to do, and the expansion tank is perhaps one
Sure.
of them.
Steve, have you ever taken a bottle of water, a brand new bottle of water, and set it on the dash of your car in the middle of summer?
Yeah.
That bottle will just, it expands, right? So when water is heated, it takes up more space. And if you have a plumbing system that's full of water, there's no place for the water to go now because it's not compressible. Okay.
Hmm.
Water takes enormous amounts of force to compress it, even just a little bit. So let's just say you can't compress it. And if you don't have a place for the expanded volume to go, then what it's going to do is it's going to increase pressures, and those pressures can cause glass linings on the inside of your water
Water
heater
tank.
to
Yeah.
flex
Mm.
back and
Mm.
forth. And that glass that's lining your water heater tank will crack.
Hmm.
It'll delaminate, and then the water heater will rust out. So if you talk to any water heater manufacturer or thermal expansion tank manufacturer, they will absolutely tell you it is a necessary
Mm.
device. It has to be there. And some people will even confuse the thermal relief valve on the side of the water heater as expansion control. And
Mm.
that's not what that's for. That is a
No.
catastrophic high pressure failure when that valve opens up. And you don't want that to happen. The tank allows that expanded volume to go somewhere. Okay.
Hmm.
And
Mm.
every booster pump has a check valve that maintains the elevated pressure. So once you boost it, it has to hold it there to keep the pressure from falling off. And that check valve is what's keeping your thermal expansion contained in the system. So you got to have the tank. Otherwise, you're going to damage your equipment.
Okay. So it's a mandatory part of the installation.
It can be a tank or it can be a thermal expansion
Hmm.
relief device. There
Okay.
are other components out there, but what they do is they open up at a lower pressure and they shoot water down the drain. I'm not a huge fan of it because I don't like to waste water, but
Hmm.
sometimes your space is limited in a mechanical room. And if that's your only option, then you absolutely need to do it.
Okay. Now, one other thing I wanted to ask you too is that it seems like maybe older booster systems were known to be quite noisy,
Mhm.
and I'm guessing the new ones from Grundfos aren't noisy. So how has that been taken care of?
Well, we've made a lot of improvements to the products just from some of the things that we've done, materials in constructions,
Mhm.
and we've tweaked the hydraulics in it. But noise is a situation that contractors, I don't think they realize just how big of an issue it is with customers. There is a perception right now that if it's quiet, it's quality.
Mhm.
You want your dishwashers to be super quiet. You want your refrigerator to be super quiet. High quality appliances are quiet.
Mhm.
And that's what we are delivering, a high quality product. It's quiet. It's not going to disturb them because these pumps are often located in areas that are near a bedroom. If it's in a mechanical space that's close to living spaces, you have to keep that quiet. It's different than if you're trying to do a mechanical room in a commercial building.
Okay. As contractors, increase the water pressure, these systems increase the water pressure and the flow throughout the house. What other issues might come up? I'm thinking water hammer or something like that. Is
Mhm.
that an issue? Is that
Yeah,
something else
hammer
to
does
be?
happen. Hammer is a condition of velocity. So if you're pushing the water through the system quicker,
Hmm.
then when it hits one of those valves that stops it very abruptly,
Right.
that bang that you hear is a shock wave of pressure. And
Okay.
that shock wave is also damaging. You may hear the bang, but that's the least of your concerns. Okay.
Okay.
So water hammer arresters are available. everywhere. I mean, you can find them online, you can find them
Sure.
in hardware stores, but the trick is you got to make sure that you put that thing where the valve is banging, not at the pump,
Hmm.
because the
Hmm.
pump isn't stopping the flow. It's the valve that stops the flow, and that's what causes the bang.
And this goes to your point that you made at the top of the conversation that you have to look at this as a whole system. It's not just something you plug in and,
Right.
wow, I got more water now coming at me. It's a
Yeah.
holistic approach to
It
looking
is
at
a
other
holistic
things.
approach. Exactly.
And while the water hammer could come up, it's also a solution. There's an easy solution to it.
There's a fix. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely. And plumbing codes have been addressing water hammer
Mhm.
for decades.
Yeah.
So I think even air chambers and things like that were part of basic standard plumbing code. So it's not a new concept. It shouldn't
Mhm.
be a new concept for anybody.
And the other thing I learned about after watching your YouTube clip for the home show is the use of RO in these systems. I hadn't really thought about reverse osmosis at all. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Doesn't sound like a good friend to these systems, but there's ways around that too.
Well, there is. And an RO is a tricky thing because as you start stripping away the components in the RO, pushing it through the membranes, removing media, removing materials from that water, water gets aggressive and it tries to pull those materials back in. Metals are particularly susceptible to RO water, and there is some metallic components within our pumps. But the biggest issue with RO water residentially, because usually the pH levels, the softening levels or RO levels in homes isn't at that aggressive of a level. It's not like high purity water in a laboratory. Okay. But the problem is that most residential RO systems are not properly maintained.
Mm.
You have to clean the filters. You have to maintain a proper pH level because if you don't, then you start creating other issues. And it's the acidity, the alkalinity, the pH of the water. That's what becomes damaging to the pump. So if you were in a perfect world and everybody was maintaining their RO systems and they were keeping them at those nice low RO levels, then the pump would work perfectly. But unfortunately, that
Okay.
doesn't always happen. And so we just advise to pump downstream of an
Right.
RO system.
Right. Right. Okay. So it can be people do have these systems, but
They do.
there's a way to make it work together.
We can absolutely make it work.
Just make sure the homeowner changes the filter in their RO system.
Keep that thing up to date.
Which is one reason I probably never put one in my house.
Well, I'm guilty. I have one and it probably needs to be serviced right now.
So I got a couple more questions for you. Becky, one thing I wanted to ask you too is about the energy savings. I did read some case studies on Grundfos that show huge energy savings of 25 to over 80% when older constant speed systems are replaced with modern VFD controlled boosters. Is that, something on scale that is realistic for a single family home, or is that just mainly a big commercial building thing?
Well, it's a real good question because it's kind of a yes and no answer. Commercially, if you're looking at those pumps, they are running all day long. They're designed for high demands, right? If you're a hotel, you're going to have really peak flow rates. But most of the time, that pump's going to be fluctuating. And that's why they want VFD drive technology, because
Mhm.
as you can slow that motor speed down, you save energy, and that is big. So the numbers that we're talking about, 25, 50, 80% savings is mostly a commercial application.
Mhm.
However, for a single family home, the economics are a lot different. Their water usage is lower, the pump run times are fewer, it's intermittent stops and starts. And so it's a different way of looking at it. Variable frequency technology is important to consumers, but what they notice is a consistent shower pressure, better performance from their appliances, not experiencing a drop if somebody turns on a dishwasher while they're taking a shower or flushes a toilet or something like that. You got a quiet operation. The system lasts. So when you're spending the money on a product that can slow itself down, reduce the number of stops, all of these things, that's going to lend itself to a product that will last much longer than a product that's working with constant hard on offs at full speed. And so Commercial customers buy VFD pumps for energy savings. Residential homeowners fall in love with the comfort, okay? And they get that energy savings as kind of a bonus.
Perfect. Very good. Thanks. Where do you see the biggest growth opportunity for domestic pressure boosting systems in the next few years? Is this just a retrofit market that you're talking about? Are we talking about new building or what?
Oh, if I had to pick one, it's by far and away retrofit.
Retrofit,
Okay,
sure.
because given our current existing home situations, most people are not rebuilding or moving. A lot of
Mhm.
people are staying in place. They're upgrading their existing homes. They want that high-end dishwasher. They want that spa-like effect in their bathroom, and they're spending an awful lot of money to make it happen. But you have to understand that these high-end appliances, these high-end showers, they are all tested in laboratories with high water pressure, adequate water pressure to drive them to give you the performance and the experience you're looking for. And if you don't have that kind of pressure in your home, you're going to be real disappointed. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you're thinking about any kind of renovation, or if you're working with a remodeler or a homeowner, that's the first thing you want to look at. Do they have
Mhm.
enough pressure in their home to do
Mhm.
what you're looking for?
And I've heard you say too that, when you first buy your house, day one, you might have very adequate pressure. But over the years, maybe there's another housing development down the road, or maybe there's a more commercial across the street or something that
Well,
would require the city founders perhaps to help those homeowners out. But they don't necessarily do that. So what starts out as perfect in your home, maybe 10 years from now, can be not adequate at all.
and that happens a lot. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you where, I know a lot of city planners are doing that too. How big of a water main do we bid in? How big of a tower or pumping
Mhm.
station do we
Mhm.
supply for this development? Because once your infrastructure's in, it's in.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you have to do something else. So there are a lot of homes right now that did not anticipate that big field behind them getting turned into 500 apartment buildings and losing all their water pressure. So it's common, but we
Right.
all have to share.
Yeah.
So
This is an answer to progress.
it's
I
an
mean,
answer to
again,
progress.
the house that
Exactly.
was perfect 10, 15 years ago, it maybe isn't, but it doesn't mean you have to sell your house and move somewhere else.
No, no.
You can
And the
solve that
nice thing
problem.
about it is if you know you've got enough volume to support your home now,
Right.
all you have to do is change the pressure parameter.
Yes. Again, that's the key, the volume, not the,
Mhm.
you don't do anything magic with the volume. It has to be a certain supply in
It
order
gotta
for
be
you to
there.
be. Yes, absolutely. All right. One last question. If you could give contractors one piece of advice that would eliminate some of the problems perhaps associated with these installations, what would that be?
Ask questions. There are no dumb questions when it comes to pressure boosting. And I find that most contractors, very good, skilled, quality guys,
Mhm.
but they're not used to working with pressure changes. If you're walking into a residential, if you're a production plumber, that's already been determined for you. The meters are set. You're plumbing, okay? Somebody else took that responsibility on to make sure that there was enough pressure and that the meters were adequately sized. If you're unsure how to do something that's new to you, don't hesitate to ask. There are resources out there. There are people like myself who've been doing this for so long that we've forgotten all about it. Just ask us. We want to help you do it right.
All right. And as you mentioned before, for an installer, there's plenty of resources available through your website. I mean, training, I'm sure, in person, online,
Our
any which way.
wholesalers can get us,
So,
our manufacturers reps. We have a
hmm
whole fleet of manufacturers reps that can service the entire country. They're very, very skilled, very good. We will go on site with you. We will help you walk through a couple of installations. We'll answer your questions if you've had a problem before.
hmm
But once you get it right and once you know what to look for, sky's the limit.
Good. Well, that's a good way to end it. Thank you very much, Becky.
You're welcome.
And I'm sure we'll see each other somewhere down the road at a trade show or two.
All
Thanks
right.
again for coming on.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you having me.
Bye bye.
Bye.